All right, welcome back. This is Cult of Elections, and today in this 2024 election night prediction, we are going to go through the possibility, well, the best case possibility, the best Republicans can do in the 2024 election. Now, this is a sister video. I had one come out yesterday. The best Democrats could do in the 2024 election. So yeah, let's just get started here. So we're going to go through safe states for Republicans. I'm going to put some not quite safe states in there too. Because, this is the best case scenario, right? Okay, we can throw South Carolina in there. West Virginia, Indiana, Kentucky. And sometimes I skip over a couple of these to talk about them for a second, but yeah, if this is the best case scenario, this is what it would look like. So yeah, not that tremendous of a start, but we can move on. Okay. Let's throw some likely states in there. So obviously, Iowa and Ohio. I don't think they would quite reach the safe margin that, if you consider safe to be 15 plus, I don't think they would quite reach that, these states. Yeah, because they're kind of far off that now. And considering polarization, that'd be very hard to accomplish. So yeah, Nebraska's second. You can put in the likely column in this scenario. You just have to. It's very possible that it goes this way regardless, but yeah, in best case scenario, this turns into a likely, possibly even safe. All right. Yeah. Now that those are talked about, let's fill out some things that Republicans really aren't going to come close to winning. Or, bring you to a margin that is considered to be likely or anything. So California, Washington, Hawaii, Vermont, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, and Maryland. Now this may look insanely weird to you how I skipped DC obviously. Maybe weird how I skipped a couple up here, but and Oregon too. Considering the margins, Oregon I think was only like 16.5 points, so it's very easy that especially if Republicans don't run Trump, that could fall into the likely category. And Delaware and Connecticut are, I think, about 20-point margins, and more than a 5-point swing isn't an insane thing. It's happened before. It happens all over the place, really. In Illinois, being a 17-point-something point margin. It did go up from 2016 to 2020. However, it's very possible it goes back down into the likely category. But again, that's only if you consider likely to be between about 5 and 15, 6 and 15, something like that. So yeah, so some safe Democrat seats here in the likely category to start this off. But anyways, let's go through some more likely Republican states. And at this point, we have to say that the entire Rust Belt, if it reaches 6-7 points, which it's possible, a state can swing that much, but it would have to be a candidate that really, really appeals to the working class, and the other candidate really, really doesn't. So, again, not saying this is a likely map, but if we're talking about best case scenario for Republicans, this is what the Rust Belt looks like. And I'm going to delegate two pretty similar states, actually three. Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Maine at large. I think lean Republican. Maine's 2nd district would be likely, and Maine's 1st district would be likely Democrat. Yeah, so Minnesota, New Hampshire, and Maine, all very similar populations there. Yeah, so they would kind of go in line with each other, and they all sort of did in 2020. They all shifted pretty drastically to the left. So, and in 2016 they were close. So Republicans could win, but I wouldn't say by that big of a margin. We can go through two last states that I don't think Republicans would win. And considering the shift in Colorado and the shift in Virginia, I don't think Republicans would come back and win Virginia or Colorado. It's just a lot to overcome at this point. I mean, a lot can change in 4 years, but Colorado's shift is crazy big. Virginia, it's been shifting hard. Not as big as Colorado, but yeah, very hard margins to overcome. It's possible that you could say that it's, it could go red in best case scenario. So yeah, you may be wondering why I left out New Mexico. Okay, I believe the Senate race there was within 5 points with Donald Trump on the top of the ticket. So I think it's entirely possible that New Mexico goes back to its Republican roots. But this is, again, saying the most drastic scenario. Republicans would have to continue to make inroads with Hispanics, but a lot more different ones. Not just Cubans, but Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, etc. Yeah, they would have to make inroads with a lot of them. So yeah, so I'm sure you could tell the last states could obviously go Republican because many of them did recently. Nevada, not quite, but okay, let's start with Texas. I don't think it's really going to be at all likely that Texas moves back to the safe column, at least in this election. I mean, it's been shifting left, but who knows? It could shift the other way. Maybe at least one time. Or maybe it could just keep going. Who knows? But yeah, Texas was a borderline likely state in 2020. So yeah, if it gains a few more points, which is completely possible. It had a crazy turnout in Texas in 2020. If that turnout goes down, it's very possible it could remain in the likely column. This may be a weird one. I'm going to put Florida, in the likely column. Considering the inroads that Donald Trump, who almost every single state moved farther to the left. Almost every single one. Florida did not. It moved farther to the right, which has a lot to say. So, yeah, this would be the most likely to move farther to the right in 2020, in my opinion. I guess you could put Colorado on that, too, considering that shift it did was pretty drastic. But, yeah, if it shifts like 3-4 more points, which is possible, never say never in Florida, though. Yeah, it could move to the likely column, but again, best case scenario. I'm not saying this is likely at all, but this is best case scenario. So yeah, Georgia I don't think would move back to the likely column, but it could move back into the larger victory of the lean column. It's possible, yeah. Hatred of Donald Trump. It could have played a factor there. It could move back to its right-wing roots there. North Carolina could go likely. It's a state that Trump won twice. In 2020, I believe it was a smaller margin than 2016, but perhaps with a more popular Republican who's putting up numbers, this good in other states, North Carolina definitely moves to the lean column. Likely column. Arizona, same thing. I mean, if I'm putting Wisconsin and Georgia sort of in this area, well, okay, Arizona has a lot more in common with Florida than it does with Georgia. And if I'm putting Wisconsin in this area too, I am going to say likely, but definitely on the smaller side of likely. You could even say lean would be the most likely bet for best case scenario for Republicans, considering the drastic shift that Arizona's had lately too. But yeah, I'm going to say on the smaller side of the likely column, so about 6 points. That's pretty reasonable. And it's pretty reasonable considering, a candidate who puts up numbers across the rest of the map. Now we're going to leave off with Nevada. And Nevada has been sort of brick wall for the past 4 years. However, in this scenario, it just barely flips. I'm not saying likely, I will say lean. And there you have it. A very red map. And it also moves some solid Democrat states to the likely area. And yeah, this would be doomsday scenario for Democrats. But if you're interested in the other way around, I have another video that came out yesterday where it's the best that Democrats can do to the 2024 election, sorry. So yeah, there you have it. 335 for Republicans, 203 for Democrats. If you want to see if the Democrats' best case scenario is better, be sure to check out that video. But other than that, be sure to like the video, subscribe for more daily content, and, oh yeah, peace.